That's the design specs and so forth. I want to talk about the installation and the maintaining of that. Jack, as you come up, I'd like to introduce you, Engineered Underground Solutions. He is an installer of these systems. Our speaker tonight from Ocoee Utility District got sick yesterday. He's the operator, hands-on guy. It just so happens Jack's the same experience. So I'm going to combine both of those two. Jack agreed, and I appreciate that. Installation and operation. Jack?
You can put your pens down because you've learned all there is to learn, okay? But I'm gonna first off, my family settled on this mountain in 1883. It's my home. And I was developing Fox Run. I was in the plastics business. I've been in the plastics business for 40 years. So when I hear these other speakers talk about these components and everything, I can tell you if it's high density, if it's polystyrene, you tell me what it is, I'll tell you how long it'll last, I'll tell you what it's good for, I'll tell you what its shock resistance is. There's no plastic you can talk about that I'm not familiar with. So I got interested in septic tanks because we live on a mountain, and a mountain is usually rock, and this is rock. We've got good dirt up here. We don't have bad soil. The problem is we don't have a lot of it, okay? So I spent I started in 2005, and I met with Tim Lawson, who was sick, went up to the Ocoee Utility District, and I forget the name of it, but there's one of these systems on, I believe it's the Ocoee, in the 1-year floodplain. And I was dumbfounded. Not the 5-year floodplain, not the 10-year floodplain. That rain event of the hurricane we had was a 5,000-year event. This was the 1-year floodplain. And I got fascinated by it. So then I started pursuing brands. What this gentleman's offering with the Rinco is the best. There are others out there, and they're not as good. Their price. Marinco is the most expensive. It's the most efficient. He's a quality house. What he's offering on this mountain is quality. I got so fascinated by them that I wanted to install them. And what I discovered was, at that time, there were 675 of these units in Tennessee. If you drive to Nashville and you stop up there you go past Nickajack, bingo. You go up on I-40 going east over to Knoxville, one of the most used facilities of these in the whole country, okay? Coming in from the West Coast, the big trucks go in there. They're all over the place, but they were not in Hamilton County. And everybody said, well, you know, Hamilton County doesn't want them. And I spent 3 years and a lot of money and a lot of time. And I think it's one of the things I'm the most proud of, because what I stand in front of you tonight and say is this. We work with TDEC in Chattanooga. We work with TDEC in Nashville. We work with the EPA in Chattanooga. We work with the EPA in Nashville. We work with the Southeast Development Corporation. We work with the Regional Planning Commission. We work with WWTA. We work with WWTA Executive Committee and the WWTA Board and the Signal Mountain Town Council. For 3 years, we had meetings every single week. And I'll say it, and you can double check me. We never had an abstention, and we never had a negative vote. We worked our tail feathers off to provide something I could be proud of and not go into Pruitt's and look at one of you and say, well, we made a mistake. So I'm not only the first guy to put a system in Hamilton County, I'm the only guy to take one out. Because during that installation, I had done so much work on them. There's common sense stuff, and I saw some things that I didn't think were appropriate. And so I ripped it out and put it back in. And I was right. All right? So, because I know what the impact would be to the community, but I also know what it would be to a developer. The man's trying to make a living, all right? He's trying to make money. He's got that right. But he's not, I said this about Bill Raines 28 years ago. He didn't drive in from Las Vegas in a pink Cadillac, all right? He's local. He's one of us. He's a good man. I am talking to him about this installation. If I get it, great. If he wants to use somebody besides Arinco, I won't do it. If he wants to use somebody else, I won't do it. That's fine. We'll still be friends. But I believe in the system, and I believe in what it will do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to dumb down the highly educated people. Once we got our approval, I hired a retired TDEC individual. I hired Dr. Urban, and I said, I want you to look over my shoulder. I want you to tell me what I'm doing wrong. And so Dick and I worked together for the better part of 2 years to make sure that what we were doing was right. And he saw some things he wasn't sure of. That's when we ripped his system out. That guy's gone. He's out of the business. All right. So anyway, long story short, I want to just tell you real simply what it is. I spent 15 years to get my license. I have an MU license. I have a general contractor's license. I have a commercial general contract. I have pursued this for 15 years because I believe in it. I don't believe in it because I want to make money. I don't believe in it because I want to help him make money. I believe in it because it's what's right for the environment. If we don't do a better job, we are going to destroy our species. And I am passionate about that. So I think, you know, there's some people, there's some public officials here, there's some planning commission people here. Here's what this system does. Your decision is your decision. I'm just going to tell you what the system. What's a step system? Septic tank effluent pumped, as opposed to septic tank effluent gravity. So you pump it, okay? It doesn't just flow. You can have a combination. When it goes from this tank, what's great about this tank is it's got a baffle in it. And so all of this water comes out of your house. You got human waste, you got dishwashing soap, you got all this stuff comes out. You know, you've brushed your teeth. There's a baffle. So what happens is the solids stay behind. So automatically your septic tank goes from needing to be pumped like every 5, 6, 7 years to every 20 years. Wow. If we care about the environment, think about this. And Dr. Urban can probably quote it because I'm beyond this now. But if you're going to have a 3-bedroom house, you've got to have like 12,000 square feet of space for a field line. And then you got to have a backup and you can't drive over it. With these systems, you don't have to have that. You got a septic tank the size of this table right here. So the builder has architectural freedom. More importantly, you can save the trees, you can save the vegetation. You can drive around Signal Mountain. I don't care if it's in Old Town or Summertown. You can drive around Signal Mountain and you go, field line, field line, field line. When you drive into Wild Ridge, all right, when I did Fox Run, they were septic tanks. When you drive into Wild Ridge, you see a building. That's my treatment plant. That was one of the things we discussed when we were going through the permitting. They said, well, how do we know it's not going to smell bad? I said, well, I'll put it right up front. That'll be the first thing you see when you drive in. That's how confident I was that this system worked and worked well because I spent 5 years researching it. So first off, you save more trees at the house. You do less damage to the environment. All right? Everything, it's a sewer system. If you live in North Chattanooga and you flush your toilet, moccasin bin. All right? That's what this is. If you go on the WWTA website and look at all of their sewer lines, you got this little thing up here. That's Signal Mountain. That's Wild Ridge. All right? We were the first. When you come out of the tank, the solids stay back. Now you've got black water. You pump it, septic tank effluent pump, and now what Jackson Brownfield was saying, you go into these tanks. If you think about what then happens, the filter medium that he passed around, if each one of you right now will take and do this to your eye and just kind of scratch it and take your finger out and there's a drop of moisture, you just picked up 1,100,000,000 microbes. 1,100,000,000. The way these systems start is you walk up, you hit the button. The way they start is from what's in your gut. And I've offered and will continue to offer to the Planning Commission and the Town Council, because they got a decision to make. I don't have a dog in the hunt. I just have a passion for what this will do for the environment. You pull that filter medium up and it looks like a giant U, because the sprinkler overhead is spraying out this treated water. Treated? What kind of treated water? I'll come back to it, all right? And that's the microbial activity. Over here in the corner, it doesn't get that far because these microbes eat those microbes before it gets over here. Can you drink it? No. How pure is it? A lot of argument there, a lot of discussion. I don't want to make a statement, but I couldn't stand it. And Dr. Urban and I were talking, and I said, you can't drink it. And he said, oh, Lord, no, you can't drink it. I had to. Okay, I had to know, all right? It's kind of like maybe a little bit too much Mexican food, some gurgling, but everything was fine, okay? But I think the point of the story is here is the critical nature of what this product does, all right? You go through a series of ultraviolet lights. lightning. How many of you have hot tubs? You got a hot tub. You have a UV light or you have a chlorinator. A UV light with electricity converts oxygen to ozone, O3, which is unstable. Basic chemistry, all right? Nothing that lives can survive in ozone. We don't breathe ozone, we breathe oxygen. So what happens is, for the duration, if you've got a UV light like this, you've got ozone for X seconds, minutes. If you've got a UV light like this, at Wild Ridge we have 2 4-foot panels, 8 lights. So what we're doing is we're killing the pathogens. We're killing the microbes that are bad for the soil and for the environment. The question that the elected officials are going to have to make is that when somebody has one of these systems, do you want raw sewage going down 42 inches, because I install them, okay? And now it's down there 42 inches, out of sight, out of mind. That's kind of rule number 1 in the sewer business. If I don't see it or smell it, it's gone. And now it goes till it hits rock, and it's going to follow the rock until it gets in the Tennessee River. That's what's going to happen. Or do you want to treat it, and my number is 95%, and you treat it in that filter medium where the microbes are consuming each other, voracious appetites. Then you're running it through, that's first, then you run it through the UV light, and that's killing the survivors, most of them. Now what you do is you go through a purple pipe, it's low density polyethylene. Life expectancy, if you look it up on Google, it says 100 plus. It's probably 600 years, okay? And it's got what amounts to little radiators, layers of radiators every 2 feet. And as Jackson pointed out, the soil is analyzed. You don't just go out there and put this purple pipe in the ground. I bought all the equipment to put the pipe in. I bought all the equipment to do this entire thing. I'm just passionate about it. So what you're doing, the loading that the soil can take, and Dr. Urban touched on it as well, the soil can take this. If it can take this, TDEC says right here. All right? If it's down here, then they make you go down. But it is so conservative that these pipes are basically putting out about 4% of their daily capability into that soil. Best way to think of it. That is about what these little radiators, it's called a constant pressure pipe, constant pressure emitter. And it's the back of your hand and 2 feet away the back of your hand, and you've got 1 square foot around it to absorb it. There's no odor, there's no runoff, there's no pooling. We put those pipes in with special equipment, very special equipment, all right? And when we put that in, we put those pipes no more than 10, and Dr. Urban can comment, no more than 10 inches in the ground. Because the truth of the matter is, and I don't know that Bill realized it when he said it, something about the weeds. I look at it as we're in the weeds business. We're farming. Now we're in the root structure. We're in the forced duff. So we got this stuff, the sludge stays behind, 20 years, you go pump it, all right? Then what you do is you go up, you go into the filter medium, and all these microbes are fighting each other and eating each other and consuming each other. Then you go through this UV light, and the survivors virtually wiped out. Now, yes, 5 times. So you wipe them out 5 times and more come in. Now you go out and you're 6 to 10 inches into the dirt. And I was going to the restroom, someone said about mowing, and I'm like, yeah, I was behind them on mowing, okay? I'm behind. So instead of the weeds being this tall, the weeds are this tall. In Middle Tennessee, they make hay on it. Over in Middle Tennessee, they bale hay. They put great big John Deere tractors out there, and they got alfalfa, and they make hay. Because what you're doing is you're releasing this treated effluent in the root structure within 6 to 10 inches. It's not Tennessee River. It's treated. So elected officials, individuals, if you're for it or against it, growth, development, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is what you're putting into the environment. So do you want to go home and flush your toilet? Most of us in Walden are on a septic tank. Every time you flush it, a little bit more black water goes out in, and it starts heading for the river. But if you live over at Wild Ridge, or if you're on one of these systems, when you flush it, it goes through this process, and you're feeding those weeds. What's nice about that is that Bill Raines, Dr. Urban, Jackson Brownfield, Jack Cruzy, I can walk into my drip field. If I got a wet spot, I got a leak. I fix it. If I go into a drip field, I talked to WWTA the other day. I said, you guys got a problem. They said, what do you mean got a problem? I said, well, number 6, there are no weeds. They went down, oh, there are no weeds. They forgot to turn the switch on. And I think that goes back to what they've all addressed, and that is the cushion, the amount of cushion for these systems is insane. It's insane. Over in Middle Tennessee, there was a system, not sure how it happened, but basically the 1-bedroom, 100 gallons per day, that's how you size these fields. And the operator over there made a mistake. And instead of running 5 drip fields, and electronically you rotate, it's like you drip field number 1, 20 minutes a day, basically. Drip field number 2, 20 minutes a day. They messed it up. So they ran one drip field, day and night. So my question, they've caught it, they fixed it, they were out of compliance, all right? But they were out of compliance with probably 89, 92, 95, 97% clean water, not raw sewage. So if there is a compliance issue, you've got a compliance issue with excessive moisture, but there's moisture that's been treated. Lastly, WWTA has a really interesting philosophy, because I even looked at getting my sewer operating license like Jackson's got. And I think they've got a really good attitude on this. They got I think, an excellent attitude. The assumption is that Bill Raines or Dick Urban or Jack Cruzy, that we're not going to live forever. And in any business, it doesn't matter what business they are, you've got good operators and you've got marginal operators. And, we all make jokes about politicians, or we make jokes about car salesmen, or we make jokes about sewer installers or whatever. But the reason that the sewer maintenance on these is handled by the local sewer authority is continuity. Continuity. I may or may not be here in 20 years. I have an opinion on that, and we're not going to talk about that. But in 20 years, WWTA will be here. And in 50 years, WWTA will be here. And that ensures that your children and your grandchildren, wherever these systems are installed, that those systems are installed correctly and they're maintained correctly. And that's my story. That's it. I did it because I believed in it. And I think if you've got issues, I would be happy to address them with you on a one-on-one basis anytime. Done.